Hey there, this is Kate from THN. I was hoping to be able to do a live stream, and then I started looking into it. And to live stream on YouTube, I have to have 50 subscribers, and I currently do not. So I'm hoping to be able to get enough of them to be able to live stream. And then maybe 1 or 2 posts a week will be a live stream of me reading a particularly outrageous thread on one of the right-wing cesspool sites. But I saw this one on Thanksgiving morning, and it was just screaming racism. And the thread is started by Andrew Torba, and Andrew Torba started Gab, so everything he posts blows up, and everyone has to reply to it. And what he posted Thanksgiving morning was, "Thankful to live in a high-trust, homogenous rural community." So I think we all can agree that means white guys, right? Right. All right. First reply, "Enjoy it while you can. Everything gets ruined eventually, all in the name of multiculturalism." How does multiculturalism ruin anything? Just out of curiosity. Obsolete man replied, "Enjoy it while you can. When the census taker comes around, slam the door in their face and don't say a word. The sole purpose of the census is to determine the racial makeup of an area, and if it's too white, the government will drop diversity bombs in there, meaning resettle immigrants and or build Section 8 housing there. They already know the population, who lives where, because everyone who files a tax return tells them. They know all about your children as well when you claim the child tax credit or enrolled in any government program, even school. So they're doing what they do best. They lie when they say they need to know so they can draw up political districts. They already know the numbers. It's the races and ethnic groups they need to know. We've had a census for basically as long as we've had a country. Was this always about figuring out what races lived where? And you're right, the government does actually already know a lot of this. So when you run into those people who are all, "Oh, well, I can't get vaccinated because nanochip or some bullshit," the government already knows everything they need to know about you. So chill. Scott replied, "The billionth reason not to use Wikipedia for anything. This is a clown world." And then it says, "They call the massacre of 6 children and elderly and the maiming of dozens more because they are white a car crash." And then there is a screen grab from Wikipedia, supposedly, and the headline is 2021 Waukesha Christmas Parade Car Crash. I may have butchered that name, and I'm sorry. If you know how to pronounce it, correct me, please. So after I read this, I went ahead and looked on Wikipedia. And on Wikipedia, if you type in that exact phrase, it will redirect you to a parade attack, not a car crash. That car crash does not have an article with it. But, they've never let facts stop them before. Then we have Barry, who has lived in a rural community, and I hear gunfire all day, but it's law-abiding white people honing their skills at the firing range. Are you going to the firing range to check, Barry? Really? You just driving in there and making sure they're all law-abiding? I used to know a guy who went to the gun range all the time, and he was on parole for DUI. So I'm pretty sure there's a couple laws being broken there, but he was white, so they don't matter, right? Drew, "Still gotta watch out for hillbilly meth heads. They can be quite opportunistic." Well, he's not wrong. Reply, "Hillbillies, as you call us, are mostly white." And your point? Reply, "Most of the time, those fellow whites condemning whites are actually Jews. We are in a war for survival as a race. You cannot refuse to return fire because there might be a good one." So, I am repeatedly reminded that there is no violence on Gab and everyone is very friendly. And here they are telling us just to fire on people who don't look like us because you never know if they're good guys or bad guys. I don't know that that self-defense argument is going to hold up, really. Alrighty. Chappie, 1976. I do too. However, they aren't as like-minded as you think they are. Obviously, you don't know your neighbors very well. It took these last 2 years to show me I'd been wrong about them for 20 years. What do you think he doesn't know about them? I mean, if he was my neighbor, I wouldn't be inviting him over or telling him anything, but I'm curious as to what you think all his neighbors are hiding. Western Vista, rural, low population density, plus faith-based community, plus strong Second Amendment support equals winning combination. Here's what I don't get about the whole faith-based community thing. Which faith? And I know, it means Christian, right? That's fine. But then what? So there's the Christian churches that require masks. There's the ones that don't. There are ones who are more pacifist. There are ones who are all rah Second Amendment. There are lots and lots of variations. So I'm guessing you mean whichever one you have decided is the true Christian religion. And which one is that? And how do you know that all of your white neighbors feel the same way? I don't know if you can tell, but I'm white. And, I don't believe in God, so now what? Reply next. Alternate selection says, lucky you. I live amongst many ghetto-ass ignorant people. They probably feel the same about you. Teague. The country life is fantastic. There's no you in his version of a country. Is this like there's no I in team? There's no you in country. But in any Democrat-controlled town, you can hone your combat and survival skills. Name the Democrat hellhole that's not a war zone, or as they call it, Southeast Asia. Most places are not a hellhole, so where do you want to go with this? Casey, as everyone should, our community is high trust as well. If y'all bring BLM, Antifa, or such genre to our neighborhood, you can have a high degree of trust you'll be leaving our community in a body bag. You know what? I honestly think most of my neighbors would agree with this. And yet, I'm still here. Alive and shit, you know? So, they just like to trash talk. Pamela Has Faith said, our house guest asked everyone at my dinner table to say what they were most thankful for this year. I told them I was most thankful for finding this extraordinary community which reinforced our faith in God and gave us a place to speak freely. Thank you, Andrew. God bless you and your family. Can you imagine looking at all those cesspool posts I make every day and being like, this has restored my faith in God? Really? What God are you worshiping? Ruffian 76. I highly recommend educated and connected city folks get reacquainted with their rural brothers and sisters whom they left behind after college, moved for career and worldly passion. Now is not the time to virtue signal to us. Come home. We will treat you like the prodigal son that you became, with return to full honorary fellowship once you repent. We need you. Repent from what? Are we repenting from leaving the rural countryside? Is that a sin? Like, can you point me to which commandment that is? Because I don't recall ever reading that. Ronnie, homogeneous being the key word. White. Homogeneous means white. Johnny, access to whites is not a human right. You really value yourself there, don't you, Johnny? Don't worry. Nobody has ever thought being near you was a right or a privilege. Smaller government, more freedom. I'm thankful to live in a high-trust, homogeneous rural community. You're living the dream. I don't think any kind of money could lure me into today's high-density population centers. Example, big cities for you in San Francisco. Oh my God. Ha, ha, ha. Their entire sense of humor is just them changing words in words to be bad or negative. That's it. That is their entire sense of humor. How pathetic is that? Mark, Trump already runs the world, asshole. Trump doesn't even run his fucking Twitter account, Mark. I'm not even gonna try to pretend to read this next screen name, but it says the countryside, where joggers are just joggers. I'm guessing this is referring to the murder of Mr. Arbery in Georgia. So I went ahead and looked it up, and he was shot in Brunswick, Georgia. Brunswick, Georgia has a population of just over 16,000 people. This is not exactly high city living, okay? So clearly, even in the middle of nowhere, joggers cannot be just joggers. Odds are good B is going to be home soon, and when B comes home, he's going to open the garage, and Chip is going to lose his mind, so I apologize right now for the barking. We've got Stevie Livy. You know your neighbors and fellow ruralites better. You have an increased chance of common agreement in piloting the whole shebang in the same direction. Whether in Canada or the U.S., the same New World Order agenda is being grinded upon us peasant patriots. I live in the middle of nowhere. Trust me, I'm not on your side. That guy. Thankful I live in a rural community that values people based on who they are and not their skin color, and grateful I won't burn in a pit of fire that was made for the devil and his angels for all eternity, like you inevitably will. And I read that and I was like, wow, that's actually kind of positive. But let's go ahead and keep reading, shall we? Now we've got Mark Charlton. Name one decent black or brown country. They're all shit. Now, back to that guy, or the guy, sorry. Botswana, Seychelles, Uruguay, Argentina, I could go on. And before you say no, do some traveling first, you ignorant, inbred word I'm not going to say. I could name a whole bunch of white dominant countries that are shit too, some of which have been for decades and some that are becoming unbelievably horrible as we speak. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, to name a few. There are also plenty of great black and brown people in the US, a shitload of bad ones, but also a lot of good. There are also plenty of bad whites in the US. I'm talking to you like you're 5 because your IQ is. Are you getting it yet? If you think all you need is a supermajority of whites to have a great country, move to Australia right now, idiot. The truth is, everything is about culture and always has been. Us whites had a superior culture and we were better and more successful because of that, but that's changing now. We need to band together with people because of shared values, not race, obviously, and rise again. You don't share those values, though, because you think millions of white abortion-loving globo-homos brainwashing your kids in public schools as your brethren. Meanwhile, seeing someone like Alan West as worthless. You definitely haven't fallen right into a trap designed by your enemies for the purpose of keeping you ignorant and totally ineffective in the world. Whew! That went off the rails. Okay. I don't even know where to go with this. So I think I may have gotten a conservative buzzword bingo, so there's that. Now we are back to Mark Charlton. This is long. I'm sorry. LOL, those are horrible black and brown countries. All black and brown countries are horrible. That's why nobody migrates to them. The only decent thing about Argentina is its percentage of white European ancestry from colonial times. You are a low IQ simpleton who never experienced homogenous white USA when white Christian culture still existed as the dominant culture nationwide before non-white immigration and diversity ruined it. I'm going to call a timeout right here, but I'm willing to bet that Mark has also not ever experienced a time where the entire United States was all white and all Christian. So let's continue to read what he has to say. All 80% to 90% white countries were societal and cultural paradises prior to non-white immigration and leftist indoctrination. What about white leftists? Now, then, how does that fit into your narrative? The only problem with white people today is they've been indoctrinated by the left and their culture has been destroyed by non-whites. Dude. My culture is white trash, okay? Like, seriously. Not even gonna lie about it. Please ruin my culture. Multiracial diversity doesn't work on the scale being attempted in the West, and it's the reason Western society is falling in reputation and function. White culture people are being genocided, full stop. Please make this a full stop. Nope. And replaced by high crime, low IQ black and brown people who've never built a decent culture civilization in the history of the planet. Tell me you've never traveled anywhere without saying you've never traveled anywhere, right? It's always been about race. That's why the same races behave the same way in every culture on every continent. You're unfit for civilized society since you'd flood white countries with non-white garbage, and we can see the results today. Tons of high IQ people on the right believe exactly as I do. The multiracial experiment of the past 55 years has failed, while the other races are increasing violence, scams, and theft. Proven. And it's a fact white people and culture are being genocided by non-white invasion. Okay, so all people of the same race behave the same way. And that is why all countries should only have one color in them. That way everyone will behave the same. And apparently that means myself and Mark are exactly the same. And I just don't think that's true. So with all the times he's thrown around leftist and indoctrinated, like, trust me, he does not think all white people are the same. And I promise you that I have not been indoctrinated by the left because I wasn't allowed out of my house until I was 18. And then I ended up in a marriage where I wasn't allowed out for another 5 years. So where was I being indoctrinated from exactly? And we will wrap this up with JLAP. Damn right, I have my pigs and chickens and farmers all around me for everything else. I do not understand why they seem to believe that you cannot be a leftist and have animals. I have 12 chickens, okay? And yes, I do keep a list of people I will give eggs to when society collapses and people I will not. But chickens and liberal policies are not mutually exclusive. All right, y'all, this lasted about 10 minutes longer than I thought it would, and I still feel like I talked too fast. So tell me what you think. I think this would be more fun if it was a live stream and I could, type out what they actually type. Not, slurs or anything, but some of the spellings and grammar errors and stuff. And for you to be able to answer the comments back. But with that, I am out. Tell me what you think and keep reading, THN. Thanks.